if that train's not on, then
Uh,
oh,
but-
this meeting is recorded.
Woo. Um,
Scratched him up.
yeah, we'll try this, but let me shut my mail down. It keeps flashing messages up, saying me WhatsApp. Oh, well, it's been a while.
Should be so pop.
No, it's just people. It's never good news, is it? Not when you get to my age. So hello. You'll see a familiar face here, Mr. Mark Watson, who's sat under a green brolly. I don't know if he's just put it up in his front room to look carpy for this. So,
In fact, no, let me spin this round. I have actually gone fishing. I'm using my phone, so oh, can I spin it round so you can
oh,
see me rods? There you go. A little
nice.
swim,
Where are you?
little corner of it. I cannot confirm or deny I'm anywhere.
Oh,
I'm in a secret little pond with a nice fat common in that I'd like to get acquainted. Once I've caught it, I'll tell everybody where it is. But
okay.
until then, it's top secret because no one else is here but me, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Fair enough. Fair
Very
enough.
selfish, but that's carp fishing. So we'll go back to the nondescript green brolly background.
Well, I've got a nice background behind me. The only thing missing is fish. Um, I'm fishing in 28 foot of water in deep water, and the fish have just all turned up this afternoon in either end of the lake in the shallows in big numbers. So it's hardly done a fish since before Christmas. I think it's done like three fish since Christmas. Very, very sporadic. It's fished awful this winter. Obviously, the winter I take a winter ticket, and yeah, and the fish they're in 3 foot of water. They were boshing last night, 3 foot of water up the shallow end, and there's the other corners probably shallow. It's quite a deep lake, so the other corner's shallow compared to the rest of the lake. It's still like 10, 12 foot. And they've just turned up there in big numbers as well. So, yeah, I'm in the wrong
Options to
place.
move.
No options to move really. The swims are all booked from tomorrow, so it's like a booking system now. You ever come across that swim booker?
Um, yeah, I know. I know. I've never actually used it, but I know. Do you know Chris Angel?
Yes.
He's worked for Shimano and used to work at tackle shops down our way. I've spoke to him at a couple of the shows over the winter. He's repping for him now and doing his thing. And I just chat. I forgot his name, but the chap who's the IT man behind it is a very
Yeah.
very knowledgeable fella. He's got a good plan behind it. Although I've got to be honest, I've never booked a swim in my life, fishing wise, but I never intend to either. It's a good service for that sort of venue, but put me in the middle of nowhere. I've been spoilt with the places I've fished over the years. I like to turn up, use watercraft, do my own thing, go for a walk, find the fish, find them again, walk around, climb trees, just do it old school and not be hemmed in, not book a swim that, like you say, where you are, you're in 20 odd foot of water and the fish are miles away.
Yeah, man. Not only that, I've noticed. Oh, sorry, we're going to have interruptions. I've got dogs here with me, and I've got a 2 year old who I've tried to bribe with the phone, watching kids YouTube, but we'll see. You'll probably hear him laughing in the background. But yeah, there's it's going to cost. I think it's a good system for booking, but you shouldn't have to choose the peg. They should just sell X amount of pegs every day, leave 4 or 5 spare for moves, and then first come first served. When you arrive, you choose based on watercraft. Because what I've noticed is it's costing the venue money already. Like it's going to cost them tens of thousands over a year. Because what happened if you're coming on Thursday for 4 nights? All right. And a lot of people don't like moving. If you're not that hardcore, if you're fishing day ticket lakes, quite often you're there for your socials, there for a bit of enjoyment. You're not necessarily, and you can't always move on day tickets anyway. So I think a lot of people, when they choose to swim, if the swim they actually want is only free today and tomorrow night or the day after somebody else has already booked it, then that swim sits empty because you're not going to book it for the one night and then have to move tomorrow. Because even worse, what happens if you get it going? Like and then you have to leave or something. So you're not going to book it. So what is a prime swim's probably going to sit empty for a day where it wouldn't have sat empty for a day if it had been available on a Thursday when you arrived and you jumped in it for your 4 nights. The other guy's still going to go somewhere. So it's like a prime swim. Well, there's a perfect example on the other side here. The three swims by the gates, like a little pointed area, is three swims on it. Been empty for the last 3 days, presumably because somebody's got it booked from tomorrow. So why would you have gone in it yesterday or the day before if you're on for say a week? You wouldn't have done it. So I like the app and it seems easy to use. I've done a few bookings on it now, so because they do memberships on it as well. So it's not just for day tickets, like because I've had a winter ticket on here. I'm logged in as a member, so you go through and book your swim as you normally would, but then uh, you it comes up without a charge, you see, because it's got memberships on it. So it's a good app. I like the tech. It seems pretty easy to use. I just the system of having to choose a peg number before you arrive seems not good for anyone, not for the person. It's good to know if you're traveling that you've definitely got to swim, but they can do that, without having to actually choose it before you arrive.
There's pros and cons to it, and when it comes to day ticket gaffs, I like the way well A1 Pits and Norton Disney both do it.
Yeah,
First come, first served. A1 Pits, you rock up, jump in a swim, and they'll come around and take your money the old way. If there's no swims, then you drive up to the next lake. It's tough. Or Norton Disney, you can see on the Facebook page there's regular posts saying so many swims coming free tomorrow morning,
yeah.
and
Well, that's the same as Linear do it, which
it.
as somebody that's been down there when it's been busy, it's horrible, and especially when you've driven 3-4 hours, and then you could have half a day walking with buckets, like just trying to find when somebody's going. You've got the pressure of asking people, these busy day tickets. You've got to ask them, when you're leaving, mate. When you're leaving, mate. It's not nice. Like you don't like to be asked every 5 minutes.
That's why I'll only fish places like that in the winter when it's going to be quiet and I know there's going to be space. That's the only time I've been to Norton Disney. Although what I will say about it there, what has impressed me, you go to some day ticket gaffs and it's bums on seats. There's a swim in every perceivable gap.
Yeah,
At Norton Disney, you'll have like two swims, maybe 10, 20 yards apart, so you
yeah,
still have a social with your mate. And then there's quite a big enough gap, and then there's another like swim, or often like two swims together again.
yeah.
So you can still have a bit of a social, but there's still plenty of room. They could have put double the amount of swims on there, but they haven't. And
Yeah. But the problem is, if say you live in Scotland and you've planned with your mate at half term to drive down for a week's fishing on Norton, you could get there and not get on the lake. Then what do you do? You're in a rat race then. So I like the swim book idea where you can guarantee yourself a swim. I just don't like the fact you have to choose it without sometimes any knowledge of the lake, the conditions, what's been happening. That doesn't feel like fishing, but they're just my observations. Anyway, we weren't going to get political in any way. We've done this
it's not
podcast.
political. This is an observation on the change in day ticket gaps that neither of us spend much time on anyway. So
True. Yeah, very true. But yeah, I wanted this to be really positive. Mark's not done a podcast since Christmas, and he's come out of retirement because we hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube this week. Now, we were an audio podcast. We'd had before we took a break a few years ago. We'd had well over 1 million downloads. We were the first ever podcast, but it was all audio then. There was no video, so we didn't do anything with YouTube. But we want to say thank you to everybody because we can now monetize it if we choose to, and if we can work out the complications of actually setting it up. But we got an email off YouTube saying you have 2,000 subscribers. So I think we had like 1,000 anyway, hadn't we? And then since we've done this new run of podcasts, people have been subscribing, and there's a lot of people that have been watching it that haven't clicked subscribe yet. So if you're one of them, would really do us a favor. If you could click subscribe and tell everybody about it because there's a lot of good podcasts out there now. But we were the original with probably the least PC, I would say.
what's that?
Yeah, we're not woke.
Yeah, I'm glad you do the editing because I suppose that can be a nightmare at times.
Yeah.
We've not been sued yet, so let's take the positives.
No, that's maybe not enough people listen to us. I don't know. But yeah, it's 2,000 subscribers. Doesn't seem a lot compared to like loads of other YouTube channels, but we've even though the podcast's been going, we're almost 10 years now, Mark. You know that for the podcast.
is on and off. Yeah, we started round about the was it round about the time of the first Northern Angling show?
Yeah, so it is 10 years then. It's
Yeah,
over
it
10
is.
years.
Yeah.
Wow. There was no other podcasts when we started this in my front room with a couple of handheld microphones, and with Kevin Nash as the first guest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Episode number one. But
Yeah, we've been winging it since, and
yeah, there's if you want to hear all the early episodes as well, we've got a Carpcast Patreon. Is it Carpcast 240 or 420 or something? If you go to Patreon, download the app or whatever and search it, and there's about 400 hours. All the back catalogue is on there for a small monthly subscription. So go and have a look. Yeah, there are other places you can find them. If you don't want to pay, you can search around. You will find them. But if you do want to support two aging poor men, then by all means contribute. Do you think we've gone grey?
gone grey. I'm fucking white. Look at that. I like to think it's wisdom. You
Yeah,
know what I heard the other day? I thought was quite amusing.
yeah.
There's a name for men without beards.
Go on.
Women.
So you don't get this on the Corner podcast.
I've probably
um,
just offended half the listeners there, but grow a beard.
I
It
look
gives you
at it.
something to grow when you sat here like I am now. If I'm not, if it looks like I'm looking elsewhere, that's because I actually am. I'm just looking at the lake and that, but it gives you something. It helps you think. Something to stroke on the chin.
Yeah, I look at pictures of myself like I've only had sort of a stubble for a few years, and I look at pictures of me before then, and I now look at them and think, oh my God, like why didn't I do it sooner? And don't get me wrong, I can't grow a great one. There's a few little gaps and stuff, but I tell you what, it's I've seen women make a post. Have you ever? What's he called in all the films? The actor with a big beard. He's in that sea on Apple TV. Aquaman.
Oh, yeah, Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Have you ever seen a picture of him without a beard? But put it this way,
No.
the women are very disappointed. They're like, I wouldn't go near him.
Yeah.
Just do you
Yeah,
have a
another
look?
man. Did you ever see a few years back? Eddie Hall shaved his beard.
No, I didn't see it.
Strong man, and he looked totally different. He just looked like a fat dude with a double chin. He's a man who really needs a beard,
His
and
he's
he's got
been
one.
his social media game's pretty strong, isn't it? I've been following him recently. He
Oh yeah,
keeps
he's an entertaining chap. I believe he's on an MMA fight with. Do you know who Mariusz Pudzianowski is?
no, I couldn't
He's
say it either. I definitely couldn't spell
that
it.
struggles. Now he's a Polish strongman. He was like 5 times world's strongest man in the 90s, and then he went into MMA, and I'm sure there's a few vitamin S injections involved, but he's a monster.
Yeah.
That should be interesting if it comes off.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's jumping into other. Um, okay, we can turn this back to fishing in a minute, but it seems like lots of these sports, especially the combat sports, have been like turning the hand at something else. You know, McGregor's been boxing. That Jake Paul and the other clown that he always fights. That they've been fighting each other, doing
Yeah.
different things, haven't they? And it's Eddie Hall was strongman, wasn't he? But I've seen him in a fight with like multiple people. These. You ever see these?
Oh, them two YouTubers, them two little pipsqueaks. He just picked one up with one arm and threw him away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So in the if we go back to fishing, in the terms of sportsmen trying their hand at other sports, what's a
Yeah.
diversification? Can we see can we
Can we
see
see? Can we see
Ma-
Jim Shelley in sumo?
Jim Shall we see Mark Pitchers in
He'd be a jockey. He's only that big.
no, Mark Pitchers naked mud wrestling.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, no, I think he'd like that. If you've ever spent any time chatting to him, yeah, he's a bit fruity, shall we say? Yeah, we'll have to have a think about that if you're watching this and you got any good suggestions of, yeah, alternative,
Alternative
competitive
angler sport
sports.
for named anglers.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, what have you been up to? So you've not been on any podcast since Christmas. I know you've got a new job. You're doing stuff at the shows. Like, what you
Yeah,
been up to?
I had a new, well, started a new job back in August. That's if anyone's in the area, it's independent tackle and bait in Doncaster, which, to the best of my knowledge, is the biggest tackle shop in the country.
Wow.
We are talking somewhere between 25 and 30,000 combined square feet.
Wow.
It's pretty much,
The Northern Angling Show was at its biggest. It was 16,000 meters. I think the last one we did was 10,000 square meters, which is
yeah, well, it's only about
how
square
many?
feet, so a different size,
Yeah.
but
So it's a third. So what's a
it's
third of 10,000? 3,000. So that ain't
square
far off, is it?
meters.
It's
No, it's
3,000
not.
square feet.
Yeah, we've got a big carp shop, which is the old Fishing Republic store. The next door but one is the Match and Core store, which incorporates a full-size pole alley. There's a big predator section, which is it's got more of these little rubber jiggly things than I've ever seen in my life. And then out around the car park, there's a bivvy village with over 30 bivvies permanently set up.
Wow. That's one thing
Which,
you don't get anymore in tackle shops, is it? Being able to actually see bivvies set up.
yeah, it takes a lot of room and a lot of hard work and maintenance, but it's good. It's uh, well, I think it's unique. Plus, what we don't do there is, which will annoy a lot of people, and I know it does, we don't do mail order, but that saves a hell of a lot on the cost of an expensive e-commerce website, extra staff, extra postage, extra packaging costs, and in store we can do great deals for people.
Yeah, you keep sending me, stuff that they're selling cheap. Like it does seem to be, don't know, like everybody knew you went to Eric's, didn't you? If you wanted the cheapest of whatever it was, you went to Eric's. But it does seem like that place would have give it a run for its money.
Um, I think
But
we're bigger than Eric's. Eric's was just carp. We're everything.
yeah,
In the
well,
5 years it's been going this shop, it's just going strength to strength and carries on.
it's like going home for you. You worked in there for years, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked in there, then followed Fishing Republic when it was bought by Go Outdoors, and to corner phrase, I think it was James May this comes from. Had the recipe for the perfect shepherd's pie. They made it with dog meat. It's like trying to work with one hand tied behind your back while hopping on your left foot, trying to get anything going there. And the opportunity was to go back work there, so I jumped at it.
Wow. And you're doing other things, aren't you? Promoting well, you've gone to the dark side, shall we say?
Oh yeah, I've sold my soul. It's
Go
I
on.
know you get it in somewhere. Yeah, it's the Lake Runner bait boat.
Yeah. So, have you
So,
used a bait boat today?
um, kind of. Yeah, I have. That's only to get tight enough to the far bank to be up the shelf rather than drop short of it.
They're good, aren't they?
So, in certain situations, they are. If I was casting over there, it's a tight spot. I'm looking at it now. It's like an old swim that's overgrown from both sides, and it'd have taken me several attempts. Baiting up's easy; you just walk around and chuck it in. But casting over there is, I'd get it, but it would cause disturbance, and there is quite a margin for error. And
Yeah.
the other situation where, even before this, I was considering getting one was when I'm fishing my syndicate, the big pit in the winter. I'll be fishing, and I've been doing exactly the same spots where I'd be out in the dinghy. Going out in the dinghy in the winter, not only is it no fun, it's freezing. I've even with doing the winter swimming, my hands have never been as cold as when I've done that. And not only that, it's bloody dangerous.
Mm,
So sending
yeah.
a bait boat out, admittedly, it's does feel a bit like a bit too easy.
Yeah.
Then it's just another tool. I don't use them all the time.
I think they're good. They're cheating, but like from my perspective, I don't have anything to prove. I fish some of the hardest lakes in the country and abroad and done well. I know I can cast well. I know whatever. Like and if I was fishing a syndicate and targeting it, I'd do it the way that meant the most to me. If I'm sat on a day ticket lake or I'm on holiday or whatever, I want it easy. I've got nothing to prove. I just want to maximize the situation, my chances. So yeah, I think they're good.
I've
I
got to go. Do
go on.
you know one thing that did kind of like me, kind of changed my mind? There was a couple of videos that I've watched. One of them, it was either Darrell or Tom Stokes, still fishing one of the, I think it was a Wazing Syndicate. The
Can
spot they
you?
had to be in, it's an awkward quast under trees, and the bait boat was the answer without disturbing the fish.
Yeah,
The other one, it was Darrell. He was on, I think it was Kingfisher at Swan.
yeah,
Again, he's got down there, and I think he's asked his mate to bring his bait boat down. So after he's had all the usual abuse, then it was a way to get a bait to the fish without causing too much trauma.
yeah.
So do you sell your soul and catch, or do you go, oh no, I'm old school and blank?
Yeah, I mean,
At
I'm
the
not.
minute, I've sold my blank.
Yeah, well, it's like when you go to a runs water and blank, like you feel you don't mind blanking on the proper water when you go to runs water and still blank. So
Yeah.
let me see what he wants. What do you want? Pardon? You want to go swimming? It's a bit cold, baby. Can you? Is the phone still on? Is the phone still on, Baba? Okay, you watch that while I finish this. Never work with children or animals.
Or both, and
Well,
you're
I've,
with it.
I've I've got both here. Yeah, luckily all three are
Yeah.
in the bed, but all are
So
just
he fancies a swim.
do I fancy another swim? Oh, he fancies a
So
swim.
he
Yeah,
fancies a swim.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he might quickly change his mind. The water is still. I've got I've got an ice bath in my garden. I've got like a little thermometer with like a long lead that I'm going to start taking fishing, taking water temperatures. But
Yeah,
even even in my ice bath in my garden, you'll have a different temperature of about half a degree from the bottom to the top.
really.
Even in that such a small water, there's differences. So
Yeah. This
out
this ti-
there, it's you just have an educated gift where
this time of year, I think it's it's happened earlier. I've been on here for the last 10 days, and I fished the week before that as well. So I've been keeping in touch with the lake. It's hardly done anything for ages, and every day this week, more stuff's been happening, more shows, more sightings, liners. But the fish have been in a big group, but they've been moving around. One person will get liners for one night and then think they're going to have it off, and then the next night absolutely nothing, and someone else is getting liners all night. As the guys that have had a fish down in as a corner sort of behind me over here, in fact you can actually see it's directly over my shoulder. They've just had one now, and they had two bites yesterday afternoon. Same thing. The fish just came in. They put the cheating boat out with a deeper on it, and they said it was alive with fish the entire corner, and it hadn't been like that even the day before. And it was on the back of the wind. Then the wind is pushing that way now, and it looks like they've just turned up again. Because I saw them putting a fish back before, but it's still only been 5 or 6 fish out this year, but it's you can see something's happening. But they've all shot up into the shallows, 3 foot of water. Um, and I would suggest if you're fishing at the minute, over the next week, just head for the shallow areas, whatever the shallow areas are on your lake. Like the fish are going to be going there, I think. And like I said, it's happened a little bit early, I think, before I expected it. But is your lake shallow, Mark?
the one next door is quite shallow. We're talking pretty much like 4 or 5 foot everywhere. Does drop down quite deeper in this one, only about 11 or 12 foot, but my right hand rod's in 7 foot. My two rods to the far margin under the trees, they're still rounding about between 6 and 8.
Mm.
So I'm in nice depths, and right up the sun, when it comes round, it's like over there, then like spins round the back of me. So whenever it's out, the far bank gets it. So I can just imagine I'm creeping around tight in over there. Hopefully, anyway.
He,
They'd be right.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
listen to any of the podcasts with Marcus, but all winter they've been finding the fishing on these lakes that he's been fishing. Shush, Baba. On the lakes that he's been fishing all winter, they've been up on the shelf in the shallow water. Um, one thing he did say, obviously, I'm fishing a deep lake here. They've Sam, shush, will you? He's been using a bait boat over there, and they've got the cameras on them that they drop down and stuff. And one thing that really stuck with me is how far the bait moves, even when there doesn't seem to be much undertow. It goes a long way, like 10 yards or more. That what they've found that in a good wind. I'm fishing in 28-foot water and putting light stuff out, and I'm thinking, yeah, is
You're
my
fishing
bait.
singles. Could be anywhere.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. So what I did, I actually took a tip off. Have you watched the Daryl video on Grenville yet?
I know he's spreading out and putting big clouds out, isn't he?
Yeah, but what he's done is he's been using the Ridge Monkey Crusher, ground a load of bait up, um,
Yeah.
and then soaked it for 24 hours in the smart liquid mixed with water. So he's doing like half a bucket of water. He's really getting it wet because obviously on Grenville you can only use boilies, so he wants a mix of stuff. So he's using the crusher to get different sort of size pieces, doing half of it fine powder to take on the liquid, and then just millions of food items about. But obviously, it's weighting everything, so it's going down quicker and therefore moving less. So I thought, yeah, it's all pretty obvious. So I've done exactly that here. Made a full bucket up, seen a few fish, and then they've all vanished and turned up the other end of the lake. So I'm spodding out, thinking this is a waste of time.
You're putting
Anyway,
soap out.
I might as well have done.
So, yeah. Take that one step further. When I was towards the back end before I had a bit of a break for one reason or another, checking the bait out with a boat. I've lots of crumb boilie in there. Adding a few pellets. I'm kind of making great big balls. So there's like three big balls in the bait boat, and I'm sending those out. So those balls, they're just going to sink straight down.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a bit of a depth charge on there. The rig would be inside one of them. And it
Yeah.
did catch me a few fish as well. I'd also have my load of 80 mil boilies in there as well, which they're going to sink fairly straight, I'd have thought. But the depth charge of the balls, they're guaranteed to be down as quick as possible and just go like the bottom. But I was in about 18 foot at the time, so it's not mega depth, but it's still a fair old depth to get the bait accurate on the deck.
Yeah, it's crazy. Get a bait boat, just all drops. It's right underneath. No, it's great. The undertow on here as well is massive. Even when you've got a light wind on different directions, during the course of a day, your lines will go from straight to like 45 degrees one way or 45 degrees the other way. I'm assuming that's just because of the
Yeah,
depths. But
yeah. There's a
yeah,
lot. There's a lot of water when it gets a bit of momentum up. Even if it's flat calm tomorrow, it'll still be rolling.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd rather have it like that. I mean, if you imagine, presumably there's not much weed in there at this time of year, and if
No.
that water is moving, the fish are moving. They've got to swim if they want to stay in the same place. So they're moving, they're burning energy. They've got to replace it, and they've got to have a munch.
You would think so.
The cat,
It's it normally fishes well in the winter on here, and it hasn't. It just hasn't. But
yeah, it's
um,
been a cold winter.
yeah, it's it's been weird. I think yes, it's not been a good one. Obviously, I've only ever bought two winter tickets in my life. I bought one on Dinton White Swan about 10 years ago. It was the year after John Mack had it off one winter, so I got a winter ticket from Simon. Didn't do a fish all winter. In the 3 months of the winter ticket, there wasn't one carp out. And then this is the next winter ticket I bought, and it's done no fish since December. What's the matter? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Come and sit here. Come and sit with Daddy. Yeah, it's only going to be a short podcast. This just because, we're both out. We're on battery. We hadn't planned this at all, but Mark rang me up today and said, "Did you know we got 2,000 subscribers?" Which I did because we'd had an email. But yeah, we've got to celebrate the little milestones, haven't you? We'll do another at
Yeah,
5,000 if we ever get there.
yeah. I'm sure we will eventually. So spread the word, peoples.
Is your favorite guest, would you say, out of the
Ooh,
130 something episodes, I would say?
I can't really single out anyone. So yeah, I'll mention several. John Welland was a really nice fellow to sit down and chat with. Very knowledgeable about all things bait. Also a former Olympian as well. Some great stories there on and off the podcast.
Mm.
Um, Oz Holness was a really good one. I spoke to him mainly about Colin Brook and then his time on Bergfield, and
Yeah,
that was great because I barely got a word in edgeways. I could just let him flow. And brilliant storyteller and brilliant angler.
yeah.
What about you?
Um, there was the famous drunken one. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was the best one. We got really deep with Nashi in Nash's house while
Oh yeah.
drinking. We had dinner, then we were drinking, and then no, you can't. You've got no shoes on, baby. Then we started on Nash's whiskey. He's a whiskey drinker, and I don't remember the end of the podcast. I passed out on the table, but what I do know is when I threw up in his back garden, and then then
Oh,
on the way back to the swim, fell down a ditch into a bramble bush, like had to be rescued. And then I lost my glasses for 2 weeks. They got found trimming the hedges about a month later. Come on, not my finest moment, but people seem to like the rig chat before it all went a bit wrong. I really enjoyed Des Taylor last week. He was full of energy. Like we spoke about it in the podcast. I think David Hall of David Hall Publishing said to him years ago that there's a lot of well-known anglers. There's not many stars. If you actually think about a star, and Des Taylor's certainly a star of the scene, and but just the enthusiasm and the energy that he had during the podcast. But like I said, there's been a lot of them, isn't there? So there's been there's been some really good ones. Some of the ones we've done recently, I've really enjoyed doing them, and I don't know. That's just because I've got the fishing bug quite strong at the minute. So you enjoy talking about fishing a lot more. But yeah, we I'm getting past 7 pegs.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think when you're actually going fishing and you're getting motivated and you're out there and it does fire you up. And that's I'll be honest, I've just not felt like that at all for quite a while, which is why I've kind of been absent. Lost my stepdad back in December, and yeah, there's been quite a few family things going on, and that takes precedence over fishing. So
of course.
yeah, but I'm kind of getting my head back into it. I've been busy work wise, and I just even just on this little pond. I walk around, the congs are ticking. I'm thinking, yeah, I can get something going, drop some bait in this spot, keep an eye on it, and it's in a sensible distance from my house to keep an eye on it, to keep baiting up and bait up before fishing. I did that yesterday, but it's not helped today, but it's still cold.
Yeah, it's I'm starting to get a bit nippy now. The clouds have gone sort of blue. You can see up there, you can feel a bit of a nip in the air. It's that time of year, isn't it, where do you reckon the sun does
Yeah,
more good than the frosty nights do harm, if you know what I mean? It's always the same in March, isn't it? Sunny days, cold nights.
yeah, we get into that kind of that crossover point.
Mm.
I'll we're not quite there yet because obviously I'm well in touch with lake temperatures. I see them every week when I go swimming.
Yeah.
Last 4 weeks, it's been below 5 degrees. It was still 4.8 on Saturday, just gone, but it is up from 4.2.
Wow. I mean, up from 4.2. Did it ever go below 4.2?
It didn't know, but it is a 40-foot sand pit. It's not iced up, whereas a lot of places have had ice on for quite a while, or quite a while did this winter.
I think
So if
I
you've
think
got a shot,
I
well,
think four's the minimum any lake goes, isn't it? I think on the bottom. I don't think it can ever drop below that. Obviously, the surface water freezes, but I
yeah.
think
If it's pure distilled water, then yeah. 4 degrees is its solidifying point.
Yeah.
It's, do you know, water is the only element where it is not at its densest at 0, which is why ice will float above water colder than it.
Wow.
And if it didn't, there'd be no life on Earth. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, you're back.
It cut out. It's probably a good time to sign off. Like I said, I've got a restless 2-year-old where the reception isn't that great down here, but we just thought we'd try it since we were both out on the bank. And once again, a thank you for all the people that have supported us over the last 10 years. And we hope to keep some decent content going out. But like Mark said, make no promises because we're real people, doing something for free. That have got other stuff going on in their lives. So I'm in a minute, I'm buzzing for fishing, and I'm sure, and the buzz always, excuse me, the buzz always comes back. So I'm sure you'll be firing again soon, Mark.
Oh yeah, it only takes a bit of decent weather. I'm quite enjoying where I am today. I've been looking at my screen, but just to the right of it, looking at my rod, just wishing one to pull up tight on the podcast because I've got it set up so I can just spin that round and you'd see me land a nice big comment, but it's not happened. I apologise.
Yeah.
No, I just don't really. I'm enjoying myself just being here.
And I blanked for the last week. I blanked for the last week, so I can't see it changing this afternoon. But you never know. I put the rods in the background just in case it shut off, but it didn't. So yeah, on that note, I think we're going to sign off. But yeah, thank you very much. And it's goodbye from him.
And goodbye from me. Till next time.
Check out the website at www.thecarpcast.com. There you'll find extra content, merchandise and lots more to support the show, including our entire back catalogue of free offerings.